I'm sure by now you've heard of fights, flights, and freeze. But have you heard of fawning? Did you know that it is the fourth trauma response? The term was coined by therapist and survivor Pete Walker. The fawn response is an instinctual response associated with the need to avoid conflict, also known as people pleasing. Some of us may easily stand up for others, however, find it difficult, maybe even impossible to stand up for yourself. As a means of avoiding conflict, you may find yourself pleasing and appeasing others. One may find themselves so focused on others' needs and wants, yet have no idea what it is that they actually feel, want, or need. You deny your truth in an attempt to please others, either personally or professionally. Just as trauma differs from person to person, how people cope with that trauma also differs. Let's take a quick look at each response. Fight. That's when one confronts the threat with aggression. Flight is when one runs from the perceived danger. Freeze is when one finds themselves unable to move or act against the threat. Last but not least, fawn is when one finds themselves complying with the abuser and attacker to save themselves. In a nutshell, fawning is the use of people pleasing to diffuse conflict, feel more secure in relationships, and earn the approval of others. Now you may ask, how does that manifest in adulthood, Nazia? Well, I was getting to that. One who is fawning becomes so focused on tending to the needs and wants of others that you lose touch with who you are at your core and basic level. You may begin feeling depleted, angry, and exhausted most of the time without ever realizing it stems from your people-pleasing behavior. Because you did not experience yourself as lovable by your parents or caretakers, you become focused on caring for others to prove that you're valuable. I struggled with these same things myself most of my adult life. I used to love people the way that I wanted to be loved in hopes of them returning the love the same way and to prove that I was worthy of their love, affection, and attention. So, there are 3 examples of how one may struggle with fawning. If these resonate with you, then it's likely that you are fawning. Number 1, you struggle to feel seen by others. Listen, the more you attempt to please others, the more likely you are to feel unknown by others. If no one can see your authentic self, it can lead to feelings of being misunderstood and even resentful of the fact that no one really sees you. Number 2, you don't know how to say no. We all deal with this. Some of us. You may always feel stretched thin because you're eager to make others happy, so much so that you blurt out a hearty yes before you've had the chance to consider what other obligations you may have that will prevent you from fulfilling your eager yes. Meanwhile, you begin to silently dread the mountain of favors that you signed up for. No matter how many times you try to break up with the word yes, saying no just doesn't feel natural. Number 3, you're always apologizing for everything. You constantly blame yourself or feel at fault even when you know that it's not your fault. When this happens, you're training your brain to reinforce self-blame, guilt, and shame. If hearing these 3 struggles strikes a chord or bears some resemblance, then these next 5 steps are for you. How to stop people pleasing. Number 1, know and understand that you have the right to have boundaries. Boundaries are the oh hell no's of life. The things that you absolutely do not tolerate. Be clear about what they are. Some of us know exactly what they are. However, we have not given ourselves permission to have them yet. Well, you get to rewrite the script. You now have and have always had the right to have boundaries. And despite what they may tell you, anyone who repeatedly violates your boundaries is doing it on purpose. Number 2, know yourself. Who are you? What do you want? And what do you stand for? If you cannot answer those questions, then it's safe to say that you don't know yourself. And when we don't know ourselves, it's easy to just go along with the needs and wants of others. It's time to get aware of your feelings and how an experience makes you feel. No more putting others before you. Number 3, embrace your strengths and your quirks. People who fawn tend to always downplay themselves. Your personality is what makes you shine. Practice expressing a side of yourself that you keep under wraps, a secret talent or hobby, and share it with those who care about you and want to see you win. Number 4, say things other than I'm sorry. Replace I'm sorry with things like thank you for waiting or excuse me. This is more in alignment with what you are trying to convey. It removes the feeling of less than, lower, and being wrong, and it replaces it with appreciation, love, and joy. Number 5, work on your trauma. Treating both the root and the symptoms will lead to long-lasting healing. You learn to reset your limbic system, which are structures in the brain that deal with emotions and memories. It regulates endocrine functions in response to emotional stimuli and also is involved in reinforcing behaviors. You can actually program your brain to understand that then is not now, which will cause the trauma to stop replaying in your body and your mind in the present moment. As you may have already gathered, engaging in behaviors that result in your feelings or in you feeling like a doormat isn't helpful to anyone, no matter how much you think it is. By surrendering to the will of others and abandoning yourself, you are denying the one person who you will always be able to count on, and that's you. So when you know yourself, set clear boundaries, and work on your unresolved childhood trauma, then you will begin to release the need of people pleasing, therefore becoming comfortable in your authentic self. Remember, grow through every single experience. Until next time, peace.